Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Spider-Verse Retrospectives. So, continuing where we left off on Tuesday with the noir video comic, today we are going to be looking at the Spider-Geddon animated video comic. Allow me to explain. So you remember back in Spider-Verse where one of the Spideys that took part in that was the Drake Bell Spider-Man from the then recent Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon? Well, it turns out that Spider-Geddon kind of did something similar, but instead of getting the Drake Bell Spidey back, they actually wound up getting instead they had the Spider-Man from the then recent 2017 cartoon take part in the action. Thinking back on Spider-Geddon, apparently we didn't actually see him, which he might have been in the background, or he might have just abandoned ship considering which side of the army recruited him, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Point is, apparently the version of Spider-Man from that cartoon did take part in Spider-Geddon, and the comic that we're going to be talking about today is basically showcasing how he got pulled in. However, but the thing is, I know next to nothing about this version of Spider-Man. Okay, scratch that. I know a little bit about him because I've seen clips of the 2017 Spider-Man cartoon on YouTube every now and then, but honestly, it never really interested me, especially since, like with Ultimate Spider-Man, the things I heard about this cartoon were no one really hated it, but no one really loved it either. It was one of those shows that really just did not capture what made other Spider-Man cartoons work, and as a result, it just kind of felt more lackluster than anything. Although, I'll give credit where it's due. It was actually one of the first pieces of Spider-Man media to adapt the Superior Spider-Man storyline, as for a period in the show, Otto Octavius did inhabit Peter Parker's body and actually did go the whole Superior Spider-Man route. So, you know what? Dig that. That's cool. But otherwise, I haven't really heard a lot of good things regarding the cartoon. But with that being said, it still is a part of Spider-Geddon. So is the comic any good? Well, let's take a look at it and find out. So, of course, let's get to our short plot summary. And basically, what's going on is that the animated Spidey is fighting wax dummies in a wax museum. Yeah, what's going on is that Spidey has wound up deciding to go to the New York Wax Museum because they got a new exhibit they wound up getting a new exhibit. Specifically, they got a Spider-Man exhibit, and so he wanted to go in and just, see the sights, check it out, and all that jazz. However, upon arriving at the Wax Museum, all the wax figures came to life and attacked him. Of course, Spidey is smart, and so he figures that if something strange is going on here that involves illusions or trickery, then odds are there are at least two people who would stop him. And in his own words, since he and David Blaine made up, there's only one other person that could do it. And that person is Mysterio. And yeah, he's actually right. Well, basically Mysterio is the one behind all this, but unfortunately, Spidey's having a little bit of trouble figuring out where Mysterio is, because, after all, he, of course, has to be in the museum to be casting all of his illusions, but, well, he doesn't know which one he is, because, well, one of these wax figures is clearly him, but he can't really tell which is which, and all of them are not really giving Spidey a chance none of them are giving Spidey a chance to get a closer look, as he's fending off attacks from the Wax Avengers, from one of a child actor to even someone on a late night show. Basically, he's just getting his ass kicked here and there, and even during the fight, he ends up getting hit by a bomb from a wax figure of the Green Goblin, and it ends up wrecking his costume. However, he does actually find a solution around this, because it turns out his mask has an infrared sensor in it, and so after he gets a bird's eye view of all the wax dummies, he turns it on, and sure enough, he sees that the wax figure of Thor is in reality Mysterio in disguise. So as such, he ends up taking him down as the wax Captain America throws a shield at Spidey, and he manages to grab it out of the air and chuck it right at Thor, which in turn hits Mysterio right in the head and knocks him out. As a result, all the wax figures just seem to vanish, because I guess they weren't really there, but I guess somehow the illusion of Captain America's shield knocked out. I don't know, it's just weird. My point is, yeah, Mysterio's down for the count, and with everything settled down, Spidey is able to go and admire his wax self, and of course he's complimenting it, happy to see it. But as he talks about it, suddenly a portal opens up, and from it comes Hobie Brown, aka Spider-Punk, who of course is here to recruit the animated Spider-Man to the Spider Army. Of course, Spidey doesn't really want to go right away because even though Hobie tells him that the fate of the multiverse is at stake here, Spidey still has stuff he has to do in his world right now. For starters, he has to get Mysterio to the cops, he has to go talk to his family, and he's got to change out his costumes. However, Hobie tells him that he has no time, they need to go right away, so Spidey at least decides to do one of those things, and unfortunately, there's only one intact Spider-Man costume in the museum right now. The one on the wax dummy, which he immediately rips off, and then goes, and thus the comic ends with him going back with Hobie through the portal, leaving the Spider-Man wax dummy kind of naked. So there you go. All right, yeah, that was a very short plot summary, but quite frankly, like with the Noir video comic from Tuesday, this comic is really just cut and dry. What you see is what you get. There's nothing too big about it. It's like how the last comic was just Spider-Man Noir versus the Shocker. This comic is just straight up animated Spider-Man versus Mysterio, and it does it well. It does it pretty well. In fact, I'll even give credit where it's due. This is what, while I had issue with with essentially translating the Noir video comic into a print format, transforming the animated video comic into a print format actually was better done, because I think they did more to translate the animated video comic rather than over the Noir one. Because in the comic, while there are always like one or two moments in the print version that do feel a little off when it's clear that they had to transition something from one medium to another, for the most part they actually adapted well. In fact, to cover up certain things, they actually end up including dialogue from they end up actually adding dialogue to Spider-Man to essentially allow him to fill in the gaps that were missing because, well, they were obvious in the video version over the print version. So I dig that. Sorry. Well, I will ultimately state that I think the video version definitely is more dynamic because, well, it actually at least carries the illusion of motion because it's a video. I will still say that unlike the Noir video comic where I say watch the video over reading the print version, I think in this case either or will work, because I think while the print version does add more stuff to try and make things flow better, those additions actually do help the transition process, and on the whole, I think essentially just makes the print version a superior version to the Noir video. So there you go. But again, like I said, there's not really much to talk about in this one because, like I said, it's just a straight up hero versus villain story. I guess you can say the action's pretty nice. It is pretty fast and dynamic with how all the wax dummies are going after Spider-Man, and of course with the villain being Mysterio, it is a creative setup seeing all the wax figures going after Spider-Man, and of course Spidey being able to figure out which one is Mysterio using infrared does work out well enough. So again, that is good stuff. I think it's nice. And even the ending with Spider-Punk coming in and recruiting the animated Spider-Man to take part in Spider-Geddon, it's nice and a nice little way of doing things. However, I will give maybe a little bit of flack to that part at least, because it contains like two things that are weird. For one thing, the most minor one, the Spider-Punk calls himself Spider-Punk in this issue, which... Here's the thing, the collective thing with it, Hobie Brown's nickname Hobie Brown's spider nickname is Spider-Punk. In the realm of his universe, he is called Spider-Man. And anytime anyone has ever called him Spider-Punk, he's like, dude, it's Spider-Man. He does not like the name. And while later comics would have him essentially just accept it, at the point that this takes place, he would not call himself Spider-Punk. So I guess that one's a bit of a continuity error. But then, of course, there's the bigger one. You have to remember that in Spider-Geddon, Spider-Punk was recruiting Spideys for Otto's side of the Spider Army. You know, the guys who were advocating for killing the Inheritors. And while I admit I haven't watched a lot of the 2017 Spider-Man cartoon, I think I at least saw enough to know that that version of Spider-Man would not exactly be okay with killing. And unlike the Insomniac Spider-Man, who would be more inclined to listen to Otto because of the relationship with the Otto Octavius from his world, this Spider-Man has no connection like that. And as a result, it really does feel like it just feels weird to see the animated version go with Spider-Punk. Now, maybe he was kept in the dark, and maybe he was kept in the dark about those things, but quite frankly, if he was to join the Spider Army, I could see him more easily joining Miles' side versus Otto's. So, Maybe as a result of that, he wound up seeing that Otto's side wanted to kill the Inheritors and backed out, or maybe he was just in the background of various things and we just never saw him in Spider-Geddon proper. Point is, it feels weird that that's the side that he would join versus what was yeah. It feels weird to see him join Otto's side rather than Miles's. So whatever. Maybe I'm just thinking too deep into this. Otherwise, like I said, the comic itself is just, it's fine. It's enjoyable. It's enjoyable. Nothing too big, nothing too grand. It's just simple superhero versus supervillain story. Got some fun action, some good dialogue. It actually translates well from video to comic, and on the whole, it's enjoyable. Nothing too grand, but enjoyable, and it's enjoyable, and I think that's really all it needs to be. So, yeah, I think that's really all I have to say. I thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson, and I hope to see you on Saturday as we bid adieu to this trade. And, well, I think it's time we finally see what Spider-Gwen was doing during all this. So, till then, I hope you have a good Thursday, and as always, take care.